Hi everyone, I'm Annabelle and welcome to the first of the series of me sharing on how to manage psychological distress during COVID-19. Today specifically, I'll be covering two things. One is to introduce a therapy that is quite commonly used in our clinic called acceptance and commitment therapy, which is to help us learn how to accept things that are not within our control and to learn to commit to making changes that are more consistent with our values. Two, I would like to introduce the concept of pain versus suffering. In such times, I can imagine, like everyone, we will probably be experiencing some feelings of fear or panic or anxiety or stress. I want to assure everyone that these are really, really normal and natural feelings that you're experiencing at the moment. And it is really okay to feel not okay in such times. Well, COVID-19 is something that has kind of thrown us off, isn't it? It's not something that we can control. It's not something that we can actually actively change in that sense. We don't know how long it's going to be. We don't know when a vaccine is going to be created. And we also don't have any control over the government measures that have been introduced in efforts to protect us. So in such times when we have all these situations that we don't have any control over, again, it's really normal to feel helpless and to want to get some sense of control. So we are now day 3 into our circuit breaker situation. I imagine that this is also the time that a lot of us have to learn to adjust to work from home and also to spend a lot of time with our family members and toddlers or children running around because they can't go to school. I imagine that there's a lot of acceptance and adapting that needs to happen as well. Maybe this is a good time to introduce the concept of pain versus suffering. So pain is inevitable. In fact, as long as you're a living thing, whether you are a person or an animal or a cat or a dog, you will experience degrees of pain. Pain is not just about physical pain. Pain also includes psychological pain. So for example, if you have a recent loss of a loved one or a loss of job or loss of a relationship, there's a lot of emotional pain that goes into that. That again is really, really natural and normal to experience in such times. Another thing is, besides pain, there's this concept called suffering. So the way that I see it is that, if this is pain, then this is suffering that often compounds the experience of pain. While suffering is optional, a lot of times we kind of just add it on and say, I will just take on that option of suffering without us consciously knowing about it. So suffering is actually what we add onto the table, and it's kind of what we say, like, if we refuse to accept or we have a lot of resistance or struggle to the current situation. If I use that to apply to the situation with COVID-19, what that means is it's painful to have to learn to adjust to working from home. Some of us may have quite uncomfortable workspaces at home or having to adjust to the pain of managing your young kids together with juggling the expectations of work. That is painful, but that's also inevitable. But the suffering comes when we say things like, how long is this going to last? I can't believe this is happening. Why should this happen? Isn't there another way? I wish this wouldn't happen. And, this virus is taking too long. When is it going to end? And any kind of resistance or struggle to accept that COVID-19 is happening and we have to make such changes will be what we call suffering. So while we may not be able to completely eliminate the pain associated with the experience, I think a lot of times we might have a better chance at trying to eliminate the suffering that we experience by learning to accept and turn our mind to the situation that it is what it is not permanent, and it will come and go. So this is about how we can start to turn our mind to learn to accept the situation as it is. Secondly, when we talk about commitment to values, perhaps another way that we can consider managing the work situation and home situation now is to ask ourselves, what values are important to us? Who do we want to be as people? and what kind of values are values that we want to inculcate in our kids as well. So for example, if patience is an important value to you, then perhaps this would be a good opportunity to practice a little bit of patience in terms of managing the situation at home. So that means that, if it gets quite stressful, having a meeting and then, with your child kind of running and screaming in the background, maybe instead of immediately responding to the child when you're feeling a lot of stress, maybe it's about kind of taking a step back, take a breather, practice a bit of patience, and calmly tell your child that mom and dad needs to work. Can you just give us 30 minutes and then we'll come back to you? So this would be an opportunity to put some values into play. So thank you for watching the first of the series. In the next week, we will be talking more specifically about breaking these strategies down and how we can manage the situation with COVID-19. Thank you. Bye.